Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cyber Banter with Fletus Poston. I have the pleasure today of bringing on Amy Biddle, who will be talking through the fix of phishing. A little bit about Amy. She's a business consultant who brings a rare blend of business strategy and technical know-how to the table. After years of helping companies develop impressive growth and streamlining their operations, she discovered that her clients are particularly vulnerable to phishing attacks, as well as other risk areas. Amy now takes pleasure in working with organizations to protect against phishing, strengthening their policies, and aligning their frameworks, like NIST CSF and ISO 27001. She's passionate about making cybersecurity practical and accessible, especially for non-technical teams. She's a member of the Women in Cybersecurity, and she recently spoke at the Simply CyberCon on phishing defense strategies. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks. Thanks, Fletus. It's great to be here with you.
Yes, so we're in for a treat today. I'm going to turn it over to Amy in just a second, but just a few housekeeping. So, welcome everyone again. I have the pleasure of doing these streams with friends, colleagues, and people I've met. So, I had the pleasure of interacting with Amy at the Simply CyberCon, where we were able to exchange passion, stories, and both our abilities to look at the human-centric side of the components of cybersecurity. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy and let her walk through her presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, put them into the chat. We'll go into a Q&A at the end of the session as well. So with that, I will hand it over to Amy.
Thanks so much, Fletus. This is great. And thanks for putting my slides up. We had sort of a hiccup during the the pre-show. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. This phishing issue is huge. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in a one-person shop or if you're enterprise level. Phishing is dangerous for everyone. And phishing is, 90% of the hacking that goes on inside an organization starts with phishing. So we'll get to that. So flick over to my next slide somehow. There we go. So Mike Denseglio says that phishing is a major problem because there's really no patch for human stupidity. But I have an argument with this because it's not stupidity that's the issue. It's information overload. It's hard to keep all the balls you're juggling in the air when you're trying to do your job and manage family issues and deal with economic stress and all the stuff that we deal with in life. So what he's saying is stupidity. I'm saying is no. We have too much going on. When I drive through a parking lot, the grocery store, for example, people walk in front of my car, and that's information overload. They're not dumb. They know not to walk in traffic and get hit by a car, but there's too much going on. So that's one of the ways that phishing, gets that first little chink in the armor to get in. Our level of information overload and overwhelm is the reason that they can get a foothold. So now a well-constructed phishing exploit, and I'll give you some examples as we go through here. A well-constructed phishing exploit appeals to human nature. Phishers are marketers. They're just black hat marketers. So what we really need is a new path of behavior for anyone who uses email or direct messages or text, SMS, to figure out, oh, I need like a filter as I'm thinking about this technology. So there's an organization, the government level called CISA.gov. They're showing that, and they have a lot of documentation and information about phishing and other cybersecurity issues. I'll have a link at on my last slide. And if you want to email me, feel free. You'll get all these slides. I can send those to you and be helpful. So what CISA.gov is saying is that 90%, more than 90% of cyber attacks start with a phishing email. We all use email. Most of us check it multiple times a day. I make myself turn it off for certain times of the day for productivity, but we rely on email. It's a utility. So it's there, and the bad guys are using it. And just one bad click can open malware, ransomware, start a whole social engineering issue. Social engineering is when a person is talking, meat space, person to person, or having a conversation by text or something, but you're talking to a person, but they're after some malicious outcome. So I've got a really good example of that. So let's go to the next slide. So basically, I'm first and foremost a business strategist. I help companies scale, help them put systems in place, not only to grow the business, but now, because of the urgency of phishing, keep them safe. So I've been doing this for many years. I actually started in digital marketing as a full-time endeavor, as a business 17 years ago. Now, over just the past 6 years, I've been able to help my clients dodge about 200 different phishing attacks. We have a 100% safety success rate, no malware, no ransomware, and no cash out the window. And I attribute this success to two things. Number one, emotional support. Excuse me. What we have with the clients that I work with is an element of trust, a culture of trust. There are no stupid questions. Asking questions is expected. And they know that they can rely on me and my team for, hey, what's this message? They send me a screenshot of a DM. Yeah, that's phishing. Go ahead and delete that. The other thing we do is training. Phishing awareness comes down to familiarity. All right, so we're all over the Nigerian prince thing, right? Everyone knows that's a scam. But once upon a time, that email went out, and we all know it. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's a rare person who doesn't know about the Nigerian prince thing. And but now we all know what it is, so we don't fall for it. They're all like that. It's really actually very simple not to fall in the hole, but you have to know where the hole is. And knowing what the messages look like, that's half the battle. Awareness is key. Phishing and social engineering scams are just about the only thing that the only kind of hacking that awareness will prevent. So it's a very human area. All of that sounds squishy, but we're needing to rely more and more as technology escalates, as artificial intelligence and large language models escalate in use. So we need more human to balance the technology. They're both good, and we need them. So another organization, and again, I'll have this link in the last slide. SANS in the 2023 Security Awareness Report says phishing susceptibility drops by up to 70% when there's regular security awareness training. Just training. And it doesn't have to be like this long, boring, like kind of training. It's the kind of thing where just the familiarity will get us through. So a short while ago, a friend of mine got an email at work. She had this shiny new job. She was at a big accounting firm. She really didn't know anybody yet. And she gets this email, and she clicked on the link in the email. Don't do that. And she ended up buying $2,500 in gift cards because she thought the email came from her boss. Another known scam, but she's an accountant. she doesn't spend time looking at these things. So training would have prevented this. She was acting on what looked like good information. It was convincing, so she's a smart person. She's busy. It's the information overload. She was in a new job during excuse me, tax preparation season. She hadn't made any friends at work yet. There was no reason for her even to doubt the emails from her boss. So she was an easy target. If she had had training, she would have known there are lots of emails around saying, here, buy this gift card or something with authority. People often fall for authority and say, you know, um, the boss says do this, and you're at a new job. Why wouldn't you? So now we're all susceptible to this because we're human, and it's these campaigns are put together like this by design. They're marketing campaigns. The bad guys know who we are. All of our social security numbers, our emails, our addresses, our phone numbers, our financial information, all of that's available in lists on the dark web. Now, as a marketer, if I want to buy a list, a good list, a marketing list, I can do that and send out a message to people and sell them things. Well, that's exactly what's going on here. These lists of personally identifiable information, PII. This is available on the dark web for sale, and you do enough of these and you're making some serious money. So here's kind of how this works. My mother-in-law has a friend up in New Jersey. And this happened to her. She's an older lady, fixed income. She had a little bit of money in savings, all the money she had in the world in this savings account. So the exploit went like this: the bad guys got a hold of her. I'm going to leave it on the slide. The bad guys got a hold of her, and so she clicked. The next thing she knows, it moves from on her computer as an email to a phone call. So now she's on the phone with a guy who's in a position of authority saying he's from her bank, and her bank account had been attacked or whatever, and her account had been used to purchase $28,000 in child pornography. Okay, so first of all, this guy has set up authority. He's from the bank. He's contacting her with information, and deep shame. Her account is now tied to child pornography. Really bad. So she's scared out of her mind. But he says they could I can't believe she fell for this, but no training, right? She could get her funds back with the duplicated transaction. This guy has all the authority of like a brain surgeon, He has the problem. He knows what's happened. He establishes the authority of saying, I can fix this. And of course, she said yes. And what he set up with her is that they had to work quickly. She had to stay on the phone, and she couldn't tell anyone what was going on. I mean, she could have called someone. She could have anyway. So only a certain percentage of people are going to fall for this exploit. But let's say the bad guys have a list of 30,000 little old ladies in North Jersey who are at a specific bank, or they knew how much money she had. They knew what bank she had. So they had a good list and they were working it. They only need a few people to convert, and they could make $100,000 a day. They got 28,000 just out of her, and that was her if the roof blows off fund, or if I get hit by a bus fund, and now that's all gone. So here's how it played out. The guy kept her on the phone, and she had to go to the bank, withdraw cash, take it across town to a Bitcoin ATM, put it in there, and then wait for his, instructions. He was going to go and then come back and tell her, the next thing. And he was going to make this, alleged a duplicate transaction. Well, guess how far it got? She got to the bank. The bank didn't ask any questions. She walks out with a little paper bag full of $28,000 in cash, puts it in the Bitcoin ATM. She didn't even know what that was. And the whole time he's keeping her on the phone, so she's scared. She's all amped up. 2 hours later, the money is gone and he's in the wind. So this is really a dangerous thing. We if this happens in an organization, it could happen for that $28,000. It could happen for 2 million, and has been done so with really smart people. This is not something that happens just to dumb people or backward people. This happens to anyone who's online. And I'll have some examples of this in just a few minutes. So there are privacy and security products that can help secure some details. Banks sell them. You can freeze your credit reports. But when it comes down to the social engineering aspect, and this can happen like this woman, it happened to her in her home. She's 80 years old. She, had this occur, as a private situation, but this stuff happens at work all the time. And when it gets to the level of social engineering, there isn't an online tool anywhere that can help with this. You're at the mercy of how good is the person who's doing this exploit. So, and social engineering could be as simple as somebody, tailgating someone through a held door at work, and now they're in. Tailgating being the person who's allowed to open the door opens the door. And then someone says, hey, hold that for me. Would you? I left my key in my desk. Then they're in. So social engineering is a really big aspect of this. And again, training is the issue. There's the solution. So I told you a few minutes ago, I have some examples about this. So this one, a lot of us are getting right now. This is a known scam. And people are still falling for it. And the reason I know that is I get a couple of these a week. So this one came from a colleague of Fletus and mine named Jason Blanchard. He's at Black Hills InfoSec, kind of a big deal in space. And he sent out this example from the U.S. Post Office, allegedly, right? Saying, we can't deliver your package. How many of you watching this have seen this before? You get this thing and it says, we can't deliver your package. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm expecting a package. Maybe I just need to click this link. No. Don't click that link. And here's part of the reason that we know that it's a scam. See that phone number? Google that phone number. That's one way to do it. Another way is to look, sometimes they have typos or punctuation issues inside the messages. And so they come in all different forms. Apple Card support. When I got this after a hurricane, we had to evacuate Milton last year. I got this text and I thought, oh yeah, sure. I'm sure Apple loves me so much. They really want to help me out with my credit card bill. So instead of clicking on anything, I went to the Apple account directly. And this is the best way to deal with it, is if you get a message that you don't know what the message, you think the message might be real, or even if you know the message is real, like you check the where it's coming from and the phone number and everything, or the email address, go direct. Don't click on anything inside the message. This turned out to be real, but I assumed it was a scam. And I said, I spent 10 minutes on this figuring out, oh, okay, well, maybe Apple really does love me, and it gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart. So this next one, hi, I was referred by a friend. Do you have time now? Well, I'm self-employed. I like a referral. I like paying my friends who send me people to do business with me. So I am actually probably the perfect target for this, except I don't know the phone number, and any referral I've ever gotten tells me who sent them. So that's a red flag. I did answer one of these once because I get quite a few of these every week. I did answer one once, and they're really skilled conversationalists. So don't even just, if you have the report junk or delete, just go ahead and get rid of it. It's a rare situation, but it can happen that even just opening a text or email unloads like a software payload into your device. Those are not super common, but they do happen. And there's really no defense against that. But as far as phishing and social engineering, if you don't answer, they can't get any traction. Hi, I'm Eliza from Indeed. Are you interested in a remote part-time work? Another known scam. People are pretending that they have jobs available. I always have room for one more client. So again, that would have been perfect for me. But it's not, that's just not real. So, pass it by. The other thing is that with services like Indeed, you go in, you log into your account, and there will be a message there if it's real. This was not real. TD Bank, when they send a text, it comes from a 5-digit service, not a phone number, and they don't put their logo on their message. And yeah, they don't suspend accounts that way. So just like with my mother-in-law's friend, you can actually go into your online banking and see what's going on direct. New York Toll Service. None of this is real. And this is also another known, widely used scam right now. And if you had a regular access to all the stuff that's going on, you'd be like, oh, haha, the toll thing again. They send this to people who don't even have an Easy Pass or a Sun Pass or whatever the one in the Midwest is called. So, yeah, and another one. I mean, USPS, they're not drawing pictures and sending, messages. All right, one more. Now, this was a well done, poorly done effort. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can see from all the red ink that it's not real. Anyone who's sending a professional email, first of all, is going to do a much better job proofreading. They did use I blocked this because this company has an employee by this name, so I blocked it. So they used a real employee's name, but they made up an email address. I checked the email address. I went on LinkedIn and looked at this employee. So anyway, it's a mess out there. You really have to be on the defense when you're looking at your emails, when you're looking at SMS, direct messages. They're using all of these ways of accessing people. So I have and the thing that I like about this picture is they're all looking at different scams that they've gotten and laughing about them because they've all had training and they all know that these people are just trying to take something from them. So I'm not even going to leave this up because it's disifying, but one of the things on here is the NIST Phish scale in the resources list. And again, you can email me and I'd be happy to send you my slides so that you can get the resource list. The NIST Phish scale it's about human phishing detection difficulty. And you can use it to evaluate how hard it is to look at an email and decide if it's a phish or not. It should be required reading for everyone using email now, but honestly, if you have one person in your organization or if you're a one-person shop, just get some help from time to time, and that's it. So I appreciate being able to be here. And Fletus, if you're still there, you can come back on.
Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate your time and effort on putting together this presentation. For those who have been around 1 month, 5 years, or any length of time, to Amy's point, have seen the social engineering continue to pick up. It starts sometimes with a text message, a cold call, or a phone that's picked up by your users. Sometimes it comes in the form of snail mail. We don't talk about that much. That's still opportunities for people to phish you that way, where they'll send you a QR code, they'll send you an email. So we have to be aware that phishing is there. Amy didn't put it in this presentation, but I liked what she used the former time of patching the issue. So let's talk about patching for a moment. For those who don't know what patching is, it's taking time to remediate by applying an update. In this case, the update could be us as a human. We talked about this briefly at the beginning, the human-centric piece. For people who've listened to similar podcasts that I've put together, sessions and others, it starts from the time we wake up. Each and every one of us, probably the first or second thing that we pick up in the morning is our phone after we roll out of bed. What is the last thing we do? We probably turn off our phone, put our phone back on the nightstand, and then we roll over on our pillow and go back to sleep. So security starts from the time you open your eyes to the time you close your eyes. So patching or fixing the phish is something we need to be aware of. And additionally, it doesn't get any easier. Amy didn't talk a ton about it, but some of the grammar stuff has gone away with the generative AI. Some of the templates are now better with generative AI. The deepfake voices can sound like a very prominent person. You can put image processing. So it comes back down to we need to train everyone. And it starts personally. So, Amy, I appreciate you taking time to go through those examples. And like you alluded to, for us in the field, we're used to seeing these. We see these 1, 10, 12, 20 times a day, either with ourselves, with our spouse, kids, coworkers, etc. And even if you're at home, you're a remote employee, not in an office, you're still exposed to these different types of attacks. It's easier for me not to fall for a toll scam when I don't drive my car. But if I went through a toll road every day to go to work, I'm going to likely fall for the scam. And then to Amy's point, when you're a consultant, you're looking for work. You're going to put your guard down. And I just gave the analogy at a security breakfast I attended this morning, who this was a similar topic. It was going from blame to like prevention, like shifting from the blame to the prevention piece. So very timely to have that conversation. That it's easy for us to have a curse of knowledge issue. We assume our users understand and read everything we publish. So you got to make it personal. You got to take time, and you got to use the analogy my colleague, my peer fell for this, not the end user. I think DP put it in the chat. Like we can be the weakest link, but we're also the primary attack vector, which could also mean we're the best blue team member your organization has. So we have to remember that as we talk through that. So with that, Amy, let me look to make sure no other questions have come in. I kind of closed the chat. Let me double check here. Oh yeah, so we do have one question here for us. So what is your thoughts on how AI-based tool detection for these hyper-personalized phishing attacks in the real time?
Yeah, so you can use those, but the best phishing detection is human. Those voices, the deepfake voices that you can make with what is it, 11 Studio 11 or whatever it is, or Descript. There are lots of tools out there that can make fake voices. Well, you can hear the difference. It's minor. And they're only going to get better. And at a certain point, we're not going to be able to tell at all. So use tools, but train. The training is awareness is the best tool ever, because a human has tools of discernment that machines are just never going to have. Never. And don't go alone either. There isn't a blue team on the planet that just sits one person in a room. to defend an organization. There might be a pen tester who's solo, but red team is trying to get in. Blue team is teams of people protecting the fortress, whatever the fortress is. So use that that strength, the human strength. And I see that's AB who asked that question.
Yeah.
Hey, AB, good to see you.
And to add a little bit to that, the hyper personalization is easy today. If another time we didn't talk about, but that's the open source intel piece.
Yeah.
Amy alluded to it with the bank attack that she referred to, where the attacker knew this person used this bank, had approximately this dollar amount in their bank. And that was probably from either an insider, a screen scrape, someone posting a paste bin. These are all tools, the dark web, deep web, clear web. We can go into all those topics. Those are deeper topics in this presentation, but your data is out there. All of us jokingly probably have 100+ years of data protection services from credit monitoring because of all the breaches that's happened in the last 10 years. So you need to think about the fact that you and I at some times are going to fall
Yeah.
victim. And it's not because we're weak, it's because we're human. We have emotions. Another analogy I like to give is I can fall for an attack if I'm happy or I'm sad because I'm emotional. Where a computer sees the 0 and the 1, it's always going to do what it's told to do. When it's a 0, it's always going to told what it's to do when it's a 1, like the light switch. The light switch is on or the light switch is off. To the question here, we're getting to that point 5 with adaptive learning techniques by these tools. Sometimes it can switch to a half. It can be partially on, which is scary when you get into the new cryptography stuff that we're talking through, the fact that we're getting into new. I got the call says Amy now. As we get deeper into these avenues where it's a race condition again. If you've ever heard people talk about it, it's going to be very interesting. So our next question that kind of shows around the same thing is, what is the best method and tools for awareness training? It's you.
Yeah.
You're the best tool. The second, I'll give it to Amy to answer too, but I'll take a first stab at this. Use generative AI to tune your messaging. Change it from passive to active. Ask it, these are the techniques I'm thinking, what am I missing? My best analogy for generative AI is treat it as an intern. It's a half a head count for your team. Ask it questions, see what response it gets. On the same side, just like you would ask an intern, you're likely going to know the answer, or at least 99% of the answer. So when AI gives you an answer, you should more or less be able to validate it from your intellect, your knowledge, your work experience, etc. But it's still there to give you ideas. Idolize with it. Use it to get awareness topics that you haven't thought about. Hey, share 10 topics, share 20 topics, share 40 topics related to a small to mid-sized business who does e-commerce, platform, sales, processing, credit cards. It's likely going to talk about PCI DSS training. It's going to talk about how to validate username passwords. It's going to talk about app security and fuzzing and data validation and sanity checks. Just because you gave it enough context to give you awareness that's targeted to a small to mid-sized business who does credit card processing on an e-commerce website. That's how you use the tools. And the best method is you give it as much information and a persona as possible. Amy, any other comments there?
Yeah, I mean, we did real human to human training to keep 100% security safe, 0 success with the attacks on over, it was, I lost count, it was somewhere around 200 phishing attacks in the last 6 years. And that was all human. We didn't use tools. We used, hey, Amy, is this real? And there's always going to be somebody in the organization who's going to be that, gazelle who sees the prey, from outside the circle and, use that person. That awareness is that human factor. We know a con. Well, the cons are online. They're not just a door-to-door salesperson or the person at the kiosk at the mall, or, it's, it's in the mailbox, it's on the email, it's on the phone, it's all there. And, trust the people you know and love to get that warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart. And, you don't have to yell at the people on the phone, but assume that they got your number someplace And, it may not have been in your best interest.
Yeah, another method to add on to that gazelle analogy is see something, say something. So you're likely not the only person in the company who got the phone call because it's probably a phone tree. Likely not the only person who got the targeted email, even though they're getting better to target based on job title. So they may only send it to 2 or 3 people versus the 10,000 of the entire company, which is the whaling attacks versus just spray and pray, which we talked about or Amy talked about in her mass leakage of I just need to hit one of 30,000 people. I just need to get one person. So it's like getting the understanding of just knowing that if I see something, I say something. The other thing, as a security operations manager and leader, I want my employees to tell me when they click, not just when they see it. So the sooner you tell me, the sooner I can respond. And I want to set up an environment. And the best method of doing that is treating them as a peer. You heard me say that earlier. I want you to come to me. I want you to say, hey, Fletus, I fell for this, or I think I did this. Can you check and see if there's any anomalies on my workstation
Yeah.
with my traffic? Because this is happening. Funny story. Had a person call me, hey, my mouse is jiggling. Can you see what's going on? I think I might have accidentally clicked on something. When we ran it to ground, they had their wireless mouse in their book bag, and every time they would move their chair, they would bump their book bag, and their mouse was what was moving. So because they were panicking, they kept bumping into their book bag that was on the back of their chair, so their mouse kept moving. But they saw it. Instead of panicking and trying to fix it themselves, they reached out, and we were able to quickly realize that when they stood up, something happened. When they sat down, nothing. So it came back to the human element.
Yeah.
The computer's not going to catch that. The piece of code's not going to catch that. That's me analyzing that every time you stood up and your chair moved, your mouse moved.
Yep.
And it came from just talking with the employee. So it's all out there. It's all important. It's all relative. But the best method is just having conversations, setting up a security culture where it's acceptable to fail, but it's also acceptable to respond and be able to respond, because I'd rather know than not know, because sometimes my tools take minutes to process a log and send an alert where you can pick up the phone in seconds.
Fantastic.
Any other questions from the chat? If not, I'm going to remind you all again, I dropped it in the chat. Feel free to follow Amy. This is her LinkedIn on the bottom of the screen. She's got a me page that I kept covered during her presentation, but we can get that shared out as well. With that, I don't think I see any other questions. Is there any other parting words, Amy, you want to share before I switch over to a promotional ad for myself?
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm all for your ad. Yeah, the only thing I would say is reach out to me on LinkedIn. I didn't realize my email was covered during the presentation. If you want that resource list that I had on the slide that had all the links, I'd be very happy to send it to you. Just message me on LinkedIn.
If you drop it in the chat here, I'll put it in the chat for people to see. So
I don't have a clean copy for that, so
no,
unfortunately, I don't.
the link.
Oh,
Your .me
my
and your
email.
On that, while
Which
she's doing
is
that, I'll flip over to remind you guys. For those who followed me for any time or just see me, I put out food for thoughts. I put out daily shorts, daily food for thoughts that help you as a practitioner, as a leader, as a line of business, as a finance person, just think about security. They are posted on X and LinkedIn. They're also posted in some of the other platforms. And then in the last year, in 2025, I video blocked these. So I put out daily shorts around the same thing. So feel free. They come out between 6 and 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. I've also been doing a Saturday morning briefing too, where I do sipping coffee to give you something else to think about on your day off. So for that, I would love to find more topics. So if there's something I'm not covering, let me know. As you can see, I'm bringing on industry folks who have a passion for something. So Amy came in today to talk about phishing. For those who've seen me before, I brought on a mentee of mine who talked about quantum cryptography and how that works. I brought in mentees who've been doing capture the flag events. So please reach out to me with topics and other stuff. And we've got another question, so I'll flip back over for us before we close it out here from AB again. It's like, how's the best fine-tuned phishing detection systems do both? They receive high accuracy and provide clear insights for the users. So let me read that again. How to best fine-tune phishing. Oh, okay. So I'll take this one from an email security person first, and then I'll let Amy go in from an awareness/GRC point of view.
Yeah.
It starts with knowing your environment. So if you're still on-prem, which not many people are, you can validate, is this a user environment? Is this a valid email, and drop it. If you're not, you can set up email security platforms that will scan it using machine learning. So there's plenty of products that will hook directly into your Microsoft or your Google tenants and scan via API to say, is this holistically clean? Is there heuristics behind this? Is this normal behavior? Is there words, tense, tones, attachments that lead to a business email compromise or vendor compromise or other stuff that's looking for account takeover? So there's tools out there that will do that. From the awareness side, it's really just teaching, like Amy did in this, how to spot it, how to see it, how to validate it, and helping them understand not to reply to the email that send them to them, the phone number that's in the email, or clicking on any links in the email. Go back to the trusted sites. Go back to your old Rolodex. Find the person who sold you the software and call them, or call the 800 number, the 888 number, and ask to speak with the rep, or physically log into your bank's website. Any other things you would like to add there, Amy?
Yeah, I mean, defense is a team sport, like I said. Red team, that could be a solo person, but if you want high accuracy, yes, you use the software tools, clear insights. The best and clearest insights are human. They're always going to be human. We have a level of discernment and an understanding and an intuition that we're not going to have, once quantum computing comes in. But for now, what we have is that intuition and the real meat space kind of feel for humans. But it's a team effort. Safety is a team effort. Awareness is a team effort. If you can, take an email to somebody and say, hey, what do you think of this? Is it real? And then the other person knows how to open the header of the email that maybe you didn't know how to do. And you take a look and you say, oh, this came from God knows where, out the universe. So anyway, that's my additional on that.
Yeah, that's that gazelle thing, having someone who's a little more experienced. It's like the analogy of the leader and the pride. They're not at the front of the pack, they're at the back of the pack. They're watching everything that's in front of them. So that's where your security champions come in. That's where you're teaching individuals to see something, say something. You're educating them on how to be a security advocate. One thing I'll end with here, and before I say it, security is everyone's job.
Yes.
Amy and I just happen to put security in our titles. We have the ability as any user, a father, a husband, a brother, a son, a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, to put security into play. Because again, it starts from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. You're handling data personally or corporately pretty much every hour of the day, if you think about it. You're responsible for your internal finances. How do you handle your credit cards when you touch at the gas station? Do you know to check for skimmers, either in the store or at the pump? When you're handling RFPs, requests for proposals, or you're handling an accounts payable or an invoice, you're handling personal data that's financial, that's related to your company. Or we're in tax season. You're interacting with a lot of people's PII, their personal identifiable information, when you're processing their tax documents, when you're giving them ways to collect this data
Yeah.
as well. So make sure that you're encrypting it using, we didn't talk about encryption, but using encryption in rest and encryption in transit to protect the integrity of that data. Gets back to your CIA triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, knowing that all three of these can be a triad or a non-triad. It's a whole different topic for a whole different day, but just realize that ultimately you're trying to keep confidentiality, the integrity of the data, and it's got to be available. So with that, I appreciate your time, Amy, today.
Thank
Um,
you, Fletus. Fantastic time.
please take time to like and subscribe this. Follow Amy. Let us know if you have any questions. And until next